I want to share a quick take that is probably counter to everything that most musicians are taught when they are in school and growing up. And it's this. Get ready for the hot take. Music is not a meritocracy. It doesn't matter how good you are. There might be a few exceptions, but pretty much everyone out there can play. Now, if you suck, yeah, you might not be able to get gigs, but every time you see somebody up there on stage and they are playing, and you're like, I could do that, but I could probably do that better. Why don't I have that gig? Instead of looking at your skills, start looking at your network, okay? Like, have you spent that time building those solid relationships with people? Both business and personal relationships. Have you been reliable on gigs? Like, have you been easy to work with? Have you been positive on gigs? Have, when things gone sideways or unplanned, like say someone in the band wants to stay an extra hour to hang out or maybe chase some affection from a lover, something like that. We all got stuff to do. We got to get home. We want to get to sleep. But if you do that for somebody, they're going to remember that and they're going to be like, oh, that guy's cool. But if you make a big stink about it, you might have the right to, but is that going to get you called back to the gig? Maybe not. So really one thing that it took me a while to learn is that you need to be just good enough to play the gig, okay? Just make sure it doesn't fall apart, make sure it's not a liability. And there's kind of varying levels of people who are good enough, and there's some like really good people. But unless you're like a world-class, amazing, great talent, like somebody like a Jaco Pastorius who comes along once in a lifetime, there's very select few of us that are so supremely talented that no matter what we do, we're going to get that gig. And I think a lot of us are mistaken in thinking that being in the music business, in the music industry, is a talent show. And talent has something to do with it. Skill has something to do with it. But it's not necessarily a talent show. I say it's more of like an endurance race where who can hang around the longest, who refuses to give up, who keeps trying. And one way to really help yourself along is take a look at your network. Take a look at your relationships. Again, if you see that person on that stage and you think you're way better than them, you have to ask yourself, what are they doing? What have I not been doing? Have I not been really giving my number to everybody after a gig? Have I not been going out to support other musicians on their gigs? Have I not been intentional with the people that I'm trying to work with and develop relationships, like intentionally showing up to their gigs, even if you're not playing, just because you like them and you want to know their music and want to see how they do their show so that if they ever need to call somebody, oh yeah, that guy has been to a bunch of my gigs, he knows how things roll. So start asking yourself that question. But also in terms of the endurance, think about it like this. Developing relationships is not like a checkbox. It's kind of like growing crops, and growing crops over many seasons. And sometimes you have to plant a shit ton of seeds in a shit ton of different places, and you have to be really patient with it. It doesn't happen overnight. Some things sprout, some don't. But you have to be willing to put in that time. That same kind of time you invested into the practice room, into your skills. You should be, once you get to a certain level, you should be intentionally applying that same amount of time to network. Like, we all carve out time to practice, right? We all say, I want to practice this many hours per day this week. But are you intentionally carving out time to build your network? Just food for thought. So to sum it up, music is not a meritocracy. All right, get that into your head. That's the way the world works. May not be fair, but it is what it is. And if you agree, disagree, have a different take, man, shoot me a message. Shoot it in the comments. If you like, subscribe, follow. That really helps me know what's helping other people and helps me keep creating this content for you folks out there. So still don't have a tagline yet. Still not a brand. Thanks for watching.